January 19th, and we'll call to order the quarterly meeting of the Bethlehem Landfill Committee. Tom Caroshi from Council. This is Rosalie.
Yeah, I'm Zach Lakuta. I'm a Saucon Valley High School alum. I graduated in 2020. Currently, I go to Muhlenberg College over in Allentown, Pennsylvania, do a finance and accounting double major, and I'm just happy to be involved and ready to learn about an important issue in the community.
Zach's our newest member of the Landfill Committee. We have Hazazi, longtime member, Scott Brown, Mark Hudson, our township manager, and Astor Lawson from the landfill. Who do we have on the phone?
Cody White.
Cody White from the landfill.
Okay.
Cody, are you there?
Yes, ma'am. All right, as far as the agenda, item one, waste activities, monthly wages. So starting with MSW for October at 19,610 and 76 tons. November at 25,058 and 48 tons. And for December, 24,922.30 tons. For C&D, October at 78,121.39 tons. November, 1,792 tons. And for December, for C&D, we took in 966 tons. Residual waste, October we took in 3,801. November we took in 1,832. And December we took in 1,939. For October, November, and December we took in no asbestos. For October, ADC, alternative recover, we took in 2,239 tons. For November, we took in 3,914. And for December, we took in 4,219. Sewage sludge, for October, we took in 476 tons. That's 1.4% of the total waste stream. For November, we took in 516 tons. That's 1.6% of our total waste stream. And for December, we took in 530 tons, 0.38 tons, which is 1.5% of our total waste stream. Out-of-state waste in October was 24,302.61 tons, which was 71% of our total waste stream. November was 22,386.87, which was 67.5% of our total waste stream. In December, we took in 22,680.11, which was 69.7% of our total waste stream. For recycling, we had 6 recycling customers. In October, 89% of those were lower Saucon residents. November, we had 4, so 3 of them would have been lower Saucon residents. And in December, we took in 6 people brought in recycling loads, which was 83% of that was lower Saucon residents. Farm use submittals, we took in, got approvals for Asai Energy, LLC for filter media on 10/6. Steel coating, which is sandblast abrasive and residue, which was approved on 10/12. 4 items from Vitalik, 2 in October and 2 in November. The ones in October were contaminated soil. 11/1 was waste tires, and 11/8 was asbestos containing material. Walter Dan was another one, asbestos containing material, like asbestos soil. Hazleton scrap was waste tires, that was approved at 11/15. Caulk and seal, other industrial sludge, that was taken in, or not taken in, but approved November 22nd. Vitalik Company was generic waste approved 11/22nd. Site Energy was approved 11/29. Vitalik, 2 of them were approved for generic waste on 12/13. And then NYC School Construction Authority was contaminated soil approved 12/13/22.
May I ask a quick question? The contaminated source from the New York school and told it. Do you know how much the quantity was?
I don't have to. So, and these are just approvals, it doesn't necessarily mean that particular.
No, I understand, that's why I'm
Yeah,
asking.
yeah. But all those form users sent over to the township, so, yeah, the documentation for those. Annual groundwater trend analysis for 4th quarter sampling event was scheduled 11/13 through 11/17. Correspondence reports 1/18, but on that board was updated to landfill operations, Department of DEP inspections, 1020 with American Pipeline and Human College from DEP, that was enforcement. 1026 with Matt Wazowski from engineering. November 22nd, we had Matt Pipeline from enforcement. Also November 22nd, we had Matt Wazowski from engineering. 1221 Matt Pipeline enforcement, and 1222 Matt Wazowski engineering. For the Lower Saucon municipal inspections, Scott was on site for his inspections on 10/6 and 10/20 of 2022, November 3rd and 17th of 2022, December 1st and December 15th of 2022. Commercial waste vehicles, October we took in 2,687, November 2,690, December 2,637. For overweights, in October we had 64 with 56 warnings, 8 suspensions. November we had 65 with 52 warnings, 13 suspensions. And December we had 66 with 57 warnings and 9 suspensions. Flare operations and gas collection.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yep.
The number of trucks is 2,600 on average for all 3 months,
Mm-hmm.
but the weight, I was looking at the municipal waste.
Yeah, this is just commercial trucks, so, yeah. So the landfill flare is the main gas control system. We continue to communicate with SCS Fill Services with any routine and non-routine maintenance to maximize energy production and minimize odors. The October average flare flow was 2,885 SCFM. November average flare flow was 2,829 SCFM. And then December average flare flow was 2,690 SCFM. For shutdowns, downtime in October was 29 hours and 15 minutes. Total runtime is 744 hours. 20 of those hours were scheduled maintenance for flare and scheduled construction work. Downtime in November was 60 hours and 33 minutes of the total runtime of 720 hours. 54 of those hours were flare refractory replacement repairs. Downtime in December was 4 hours and 58 minutes out of the total runtime of 744 hours. All downtime was for flare maintenance. North Slope Road is not needing repairs, so repairs. Pavement system continues to operate and discharge to the Bethlehem wastewater treatment plant. Intermittent malfunctions in the well pumps and controls are repaired or replaced as needed. Leachate collection flow rates continue to be monitored and reported. Intermittent malfunctions in the well pumps and controls are repaired and replaced as needed. For radiation monitoring, radiation loads were as follows. October 2nd, 2 radioactive loads, magnesium 99 and iodine 131 disclosed on site and reported. November 5th, 5 radioactive loads, 1 magnesium 99, 4 iodine 131 disclosed on site and reported. And for December, no radioactive loads were reported. Southeastern construction activities were currently operating in the southeastern 2 AV phase 2 section of the line. Complaints are attached. And then the leachate unit report for the gallons for each agency and the individuals are attached.
Quick question.
Good.
The flare, the hours in October and November seem a little higher. Do you see higher numbers coming up? Do you have scheduled maintenance, construction that will make it go up?
As far as the operating hours, like longer work, yeah, I mean, we're in the process of trying to change out the burner tapes on it. That's affecting our workflow. I think about the previous month before this quarter, generally we're at 3,000. But normal trying to order stuff, we got those on order since November, they're supposed to be today. So once we get those, then it'll go down for that maintenance. So, we should improve. So, yeah, that's, I mean, only get baby walls and obviously information there. Is there any questions?
Is it possible for you to speak up a little bit so we can hear better?
That's really hard here.
They got people in the back behind you that can't hear you.
You talking about me?
Whoever speaks, anybody that speaks.
Okay,
Go ahead.
right, yes, well, I was out, did an inspection today, a little closer. And, I mean, the activity on site's minimal, mostly occurring at the active phase. Capping is done for the year. It was just clean water trucks and sweepers, around the site, and then most of the construction activity again on the east side of the new section of the landfill. The roads were obviously muddy today, but it really the mud on Applewood Road was minimal pain, just a slight film. It was actually very good. And the sweepers were all were out working, so that obviously helped to control that. On the drives, there was no odor at the, most of the odors, if I do detect any along Applewood Road, it's usually at the self-storage building, but there was, I didn't detect any odor today, but it kind of made sense because the wind was blowing to the, kind of to the northwest, it was kind of blowing away from that, from down there. The prior inspection, there was, noted in the last report, there was a slight odor, not, it wasn't even consistent. That was when I went back, and I usually hit it twice in front of the landfill before I do this actual landfill inspection, and then afterwards, I'll go by again. The last time, most times, you'll see it there one time, and then it's gone, and you go back again. So it's classified as intermittent, and it's, I'd say most times were slight odors. I did it because the wind was blowing to the northwest. Today, I always go through Steel City, so I did more. I always go up Saucon Avenue, and I kind of weave my way through to try and hit the most western parts of Steel City. That would be obviously close to landfill. I didn't detect any odors there. I parked down at the hill climb entrance. Parked there for 5 minutes and got out, and again, there were no odors making it there, so I think that, other than, and on-site really was, on-site wasn't bad, but you also have, I think, the rain and the heavier air kind of keeps everything down. In general, it seems like they're, they're keeping the working face as small as possible. The side slopes of the areas that they have previously worked in, but aren't going back to for a little bit, have been covered, and waste, any little flagging, which is just waste sticking up out of the ground a little bit, that was all very well covered. So I didn't really see any issues. Any issues today, and after kind of gave an update on just mentioned earlier about getting the burner tips put on the flare. That'll help. That's reducing some of the gas intake right now. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, Michelle.
No, it's hard to hear. Is there any way you can turn the volume up?
I don't think so. I think they
I know.
managed.
Sorry.
They can. No, that's fine. Not used to it. As you know, the flare volumes are down a little bit because the burner tips need to be replaced, and that affects how much gas they can pull through the system. But they've been on order since November, and just waiting for those to come in and get it replaced. They mentioned earlier too, they had done some other maintenance on the flare, replacing some refractored brick, which is just a liner inside there. That was done a couple months ago. So then once the And some of the, and they've also, to try and minimize any of the odors getting down to the self-storage area, they had told me about a month ago, they were trying to work their way down, like south. They were kind of working near the top of the new cell area. Now they're heading, they wanted to head down and get down to the lower part, start filling that up so it didn't create as much of like a funnel action when the wind was heading to the south, and it would, that it wouldn't have an easy time to funnel the gas on site, or the odor on site. And they are doing that right now. We're in the southern area today trying to build that area back up. And obviously due to winter time here, the flares, or not the flares, the misters, they, basically they're having winterized, because you can't keep the water sitting over the winter time, so those aren't an option right now. I believe they're doing what they can to minimize the minimal odors that are on there. And as far as like litter along out Butter Road seem good every time I've gone by. It's negligible, I'd say, no more than you see along any other normal road, even if that. And if they do, I'll let them know they saw it, and they'll get somebody out right away to clean it up. So they've been very responsive to things I've asked them to address. So that's pretty much about it.
Great, thank you. Haas, any questions?
I'm noticing that the flow through LMC 8 has been coming down. You guys are doing anything or just
Cody, you guys have a question?
secondary flow LMC 8?
Sorry, can you do that? Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was saying like the flow, the secondary flow in LMC 8 is coming down.
Yeah, it seems as though we're having less flow coming through the detection. So whether that's diverting itself into the primary or not, I can't 100% tell you. But I did notice that it's the same thing. They get their detection closer down unless it's normally a storm event.
Okay. Good, thank you.
And did you ask the question about how many tons came through that New York job?
Right, I guess. How many tons came through New York?
Yeah,
Yeah, he did. He did ask.
I did ask about the
New York School?
the form used from the New York schools and Falstaff.
Yeah, I just pulled the school data for the contaminated soil, and it showed only 100 cubic yards versus this. So whether or not we took the full amount, but that was all they applied for, it's 100 cubic yards.
Okay, thanks.
No asbestos, that's good. That's your second question. Mark?
Are we allowed to ask questions?
Yeah, I'm going to get to that. I want to make sure that the committee has a chance to get questions answered first.
Thank you.
All right, I think it's time for public,
Just,
some
can
public.
I, one last question. The complaints list, the last 2 pages there. For the year 2022, like the first half or even up until October, doesn't seem there were many complaints, but then November, December, even January. Anything has changed?
I think some of the center road that we were taking, I think, is basically compost type material. Sorry, some recent stuff taking it. We were trying to track them down and finally stopped taking it. But I think we had what to do.
Okay.
I think that they came in for rezoning. All right. Is that it? Okay. If the public has any questions, they can come to the podium and ask them. But this is not a meeting on possible landfill expansion. This is a meeting on the operations of the landfill for the previous 3 months. So if we're going to get into potential landfill expansion, I'm going to adjourn the meeting. But if there are going to be respectful questions about the landfill operations over the previous quarter, that quarter would be October through December of 2022. Respectful questions to the landfill. I'm sure that we're more than willing to answer them. But if it gets disrespectful or there's questions on landfill expansion, I will adjourn the meeting. All right, first looks like Ms. David, or not, I'm sorry, Ms. Lowder's at the podium. Sorry.
Donna Lowers, the city. Pause, you answered everything. I have everything marked up here, what I wanted to ask. But I'm gonna ask anyway. In October, LMC 8 was 109. And then we went to November and it went down to 94. And then we went to December, it was 95. So those are the secondary flows or the primary flows? Somebody refresh my memory.
Gordon, you catch that?
Which page are you reading?
Yeah, those are the secondary flows, so that is only for data detection, not the primary.
Thank you. The second thing is the flare, is it running at maximum capacity?
Not right now,
Not.
because we're having issues with the burner tips, which we ordered in November to try to get the switch. We've gotten 2 replaced at that point, but then they've basically been on back order. We're supposed to get it today, but we have been bugging them, trying to get those in.
If, when you get them in, how long do you think it'll take to replace them? I understand there's supply chain issues.
Yeah, well, they're supposed to be in today. That's what Cody actually talked with the supplier. And once we get them, then we have the scheduled SCSs basically on call. They know once we get them, they're going to install the next day.
Do you have any on site? Can you like get 2 of them so that next time you don't have to wait for it?
Yeah, we can order stock. We got those 2 in November, and then the rest of them we were supposed to have them in December.
Okay. All right. With all that's going on, can we lower the sludge?
Yeah.
Appreciate it. The other thing is, according to PA 20, chapter 25, I don't believe that you're supposed to be taking in tires.
If they're cut up, we can take them. I can't take whole tires.
Okay, just making sure. Allow me to do this. When was the last air quality test?
Air quality test or inspection?
Inspection by the DEP?
Probably last March. Which actually brought up to Bethlehem Farm, the enforcement guy last time he was on site, that we haven't had one in a while.
Okay, can council get on that?
Yeah, we can ask DEP to do an air quality inspection.
Thank you.
I do know the guy that was there just left, so I don't know if that has any impact on it.
Okay, so they have a staffing issue yet?
Yeah, Chris left, I think he went to
I'll recommend the council writes the letter to DEP. You're on council, and you've written letters to DEP, and sometimes they don't respond.
Right,
But
very much
we
so.
can still write the letter.
Okay, appreciate that.
I'm gonna just add one thing on that, so they have been training like the enforcement, so like with Amy and Matt have been coming out and doing like service submission walks and stuff like that.
Okay,
So
I just
just-
didn't see anything on these reports.
Yeah, we haven't had an official air quality inspection since
Okay.
the beginning of last year.
Mark, can you make a note of that for the council?
Overweight trucks,
Mhm.
are these repeat offenders?
The ones that are usually end up getting suspended. I think part of the problem, because I noticed the number went up, like from the last quarter, we had like 30 overweights. But I noticed again, it's the same thing, there's a lot of truck drivers are leaving, so I think we have a lot of new drivers and a lot of new companies that we're like retraining. But yeah, a lot of the repeat offenders, as you know, they end up with 3-day suspensions and get kicked out.
Okay, I think that's something that really needs to be addressed somehow, some way, and I know it's been a constant, so, I did that one. Hang on one minute.
I didn't put it in here, but we did have, the DOT was on site, I believe, at the end of December.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's good. Alrighty. That's your report. Let's go to the DEP. So I have a report here that the township received on January 9, 2023. And this one is for the municipal waste landfill inspection. I didn't see anything, any violations or anything like that. What I did see was mention of the sludge odor. That's why I'm asking you to please cut back on that. The other thing that I did see was, one second, let me find it again, I'm sorry. Hold on, sorry. Should have highlighted that one. I'm sorry. Should be more prepared.
I do have to double check too, but I'm pretty sure when I was making the report that from quarter to quarter, large sludge numbers did go down. Quite a bit actually. So I can double check.
Sludge numbers went down from the last.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay. The other thing I wanted to ask the landfill, can you please create some kind of cleanup crew along the roads? And I know you're not PennDOT, but from the time you get off of 412 onto Shammersville, you know you're going to a landfill. And the trash is horrific. And I apologize that I don't know if it's coming off the trucks because sometimes it's so weird looking that it looks like it's just dropping off. I know your trucks are covered by law, but there's so much trash along that roadway. I don't know if you can, and I know that the landfill has used the Allentown Rescue Mission before to hire the men to come out and do some chores. And I'm hoping that maybe you could look into that just to keep our roadways clean, all the way from that point of 412, Shermansville Road, Apple Butter Road to your gate. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, we use a flume for the apple butter, but I can talk to them and we may have to check with PennDOT to make sure that, because I don't know how it works in PA, if we have to get like an encroachment approval for them to do that, but I'll definitely look into it.
I appreciate that.
Scott, could you just, when you did your inspection, you just did apple butter? Or
Yeah,
did you
pretty much started the waste part here.
And apple butter, you thought was clean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Alright. But
One
you-
more thing, I remembered what I wanted to talk about. Another thing mentioned on the DEP report is these intermittent covers show daylighting and flagging adjacent to the working face. And then you announced about how it's corrective and how it's because of all the tracking and everything else going on around it. The daily cover, can I ask you how much you're putting on?
We use a lot of ADC and then we still use the tarps for intermediate cover. We ask the guys to put on the 12 inches or more, basically whatever they need to.
Because I know that landfill odors increase during these winter months because of the way the methane picks up everything else and carries it around. Again, we are in a little gully. We have a mountain all around us and it drops. And I think that the report of the odor complaints pretty much dictates that. So I'm asking you to increase the coverage, the daily coverage. I believe they put 6 inches on. If you go back to other landfill reports when, oh God, I can't remember the name, I'm sorry.
Yeah, 6 inches is like the requirement, but I have talked to the guys within the year that they put as much as is needed, don't sell for the 6
Yeah,
inches.
I think in the winter months, we need to make sure that we increase that. What do you think, Haas? He and I think that. Okay, I think that covers it. I appreciate your time and keep the operational standards up to par. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else?
Okay, hi everybody, Priscilla Delian. I forgot to bring a copy of the last inspection report, and if you went over some of the inspection reports from October to December, I didn't hear that. So I guess what I'm asking is, I'm also in favor of decreasing your sludge cover at the landfill. Also, my question, in your quarterly reports and whatever, you mentioned 2 wells that are being tested, the residential wells that are being tested along Riverside Drive. You know what I'm talking about?
And the quarterly report.
I'm talking about your general reports over the last quarter. It mentions, about those wells, and it doesn't say, it says that they've been tested, which is great, because we want you to do that, but you don't say if they were negative or positive, or if they met drinking water standards. So what I'm asking is, have those wells come back as meeting drinking water standards?
Cody, you catch that?
I'm sorry?
I was just Cody, if you.
Cody's on the phone.
Who?
Cody,
Yeah, the testing results.
yeah, for the on
Excuse me, Tom, is there a problem?
If we have anything that's above, reportable standards that exceeds what our, rates are, we have to, so if there's no reports, then it's exceeding the limit for the groundwater or drinking water.
Okay, so if it's not mentioned, we're assuming it's good then? You would?
Correct, no, you,
Okay, was there any other thing in that beginning of January Department of Inspections report that you wanted to bring, talk about? What did the inspection report at the beginning of the month? I'm sorry, I left my copy at home.
This is the one that we received in January?
Yes.
Yes, there's other issues in there that you should really bring to the table.
You just, is this January?
Yes, it's
Well, it's, no, it's December's
Okay.
inspection, they sent it in January.
Okay.
it was dates in January.
That's fine.
What is it that you would like me to bring? I'm not sure what.
Can I look at that report?
Yeah, sure.
Like I said, I apologize, I didn't bring that.
Well, if you want to review the report, maybe you can sit down and get back to you review it, and other people can speak.
That's fine.
Because we're not going to be here long. All right. Does anybody else want to get this? Thank you.
I just have 2 simple questions. One, when you say contaminated soil, what is the definition of contaminated soil? I saw on a report a while ago, there was one from Hazelton Generation, and there's, a couple here. What is your...
When we send the Form E, they have different codes, so there's a variety. Most often, they're usually like petroleum contaminated soils or asbestos contaminated type soils that are in the Form U's that you'll see. And then I know that Cody, what was the other one that we take?
the 2 listens that we have, like, any petroleum base, like you said, gasoline, diesel fuel, friable, not friable, heavy metal,
Yeah,
before contaminated soil, the contractor will tell us normally what it is, if it's above a state limit, and then we have to compare it to our form, if we can take that limit.
Okay, and the other question I had is,
Yeah, I think in general, sometimes when they're doing land development, construction, brownfields redevelopment, they discover an area that has some impact, an old tank, a heating tank, either some release, and even it doesn't have to be volatile organic, sometimes it's just metals, this stuff metals, and if you exceed certain limits, you cannot keep it on site, so then the developer has to take it someplace, and landfills is one of these options. If it meets their standards and their regulatory standards, then they will approve it in the DEP in the Form U. They look at them, and they will say either yea or nay.
okay, thank you. The other question was, I see asbestos 000, October, November, December, and yet down below, Victaulic and Walter Dam have asbestos containing material. Where does that get?
Right, so usually that falls under, so the asbestos would be like a solid, or when it's just straight asbestos, and then the rest is, there might be like an asbestos soil, which is more soil with asbestos in it. But also too with the Form U, like when they submit the Form U, we don't always It doesn't mean it came to us, like a lot of these companies will submit Form Us to multiple landfills and get approvals, and then whoever gives them the best price is where they take it.
So that the asbestos containing material does not count as November asbestos?
Yeah, so I mean, I have to look to verify, but I may not have taken. I may have submitted the Form U and gotten approval, and then they may have taken it to like Warren County or Penn.
Okay, I was just, it just seemed odd.
Yeah, no, I thought about that too.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McKelvey.
Hi, Frank Palumbo. This is the first time I've been at this meeting, so I apologize for my naive questions.
No problem.
I was going to ask the asbestos question, I won't ask it. One comment I do want to make is I've been hearing a lot about truck traffic not following proper track routes, 78, 412, et cetera. They're coming in off of or they're coming in from the east side.
Right.
So I don't know how you guys transmit that information to not follow that process or that route, but it's been brought up a number of times. That's number one. Another question I had was the abatement system and leachate system. So it says the intermittent malfunctions of the well pumps are controlled and controls are repaired and replaced as needed. So what happens to whatever material, like where does this go when these pumps don't work? Or
They stay where they're at, so if they're leachate in the
it stays
landfill,
within a retention pond of
it
sorts?
stays inside the landfill until it's pumped out.
Okay.
So if the pump goes down, then the leachate can't be pumped out, it can stay down in the sun.
Alright. Then the last question I had was concerning the odor complaints. Because I'm noticing a couple of distant properties now that are seeing smell, or reporting the smell, I should say. So, you know, up to 2.7 miles away, 1.78 miles away. So what, this mileage, how does that get calculated? Air miles? Driving
So I
miles?
actually asked DEP about that last month or the month before, and Amy said it was as like a crow flies, so from our
Okay,
entrance to
air mile.
yeah.
Okay. And is there any reason, justification as to why we're starting to smell at 2.7 miles, 1.7 miles, 2.9 miles? And these are not any one particular month, you know, we're going from, looks like October, December, January.
Yeah, I'd have to look into it. Some of these are newer to me. I'm not always notified from the DEP when those complaints come in. When I am, I usually try to go and investigate it and figure out what is happening. But some of these are new to me as of today.
Okay. And these miles are determined by the DEP, then, correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right, that's the questions I had, thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Plummer. All right. No one else?
Okay, I'm back. Okay, I'm referencing that report from the end of December. And again, it talks a lot about odors along, you know, Apple Butter Road, west of Red Barn, Arnold, I can't talk tonight. It seems like the odor is shifting, like, you know, differently. So I'm not happy about that. Also, the other issue is a lot of mud and dust. We've had residents come before us complaining about passing the entrance to the landfill, and it's a big dust cloud. So I don't know what you're doing or what you're not doing, but why is that happening?
I think we're just getting a lot of track of. We are working on it. Over the last year, I've gotten 2 different contraptions for trying to help with knocking mud and dirt off of the trucks. First one we had was the chain tracks, and then I just went and bought a bunch of roll strips that I used to use in California, which those work much better. But then working to get the brick down, which that was the problem too, was putting the brick down and then it was getting stuck in the buoys of the trucks, which was tracking it out to the road. But it's been a constant battle for whatever reason this last half year that we're trying to correct. Right now we switched up the traffic patterns on landfill to where before we had everybody kind of going one way just for safety reasons, which is still safe going back the other way, but now on the landfill we've developed like a 2-way traffic coming out of this landfill, and we noticed a huge improvement. Because now they have to travel longer on the landfill, knocking most of that stuff off. So we're hoping that will have a longer effect and improve that.
Okay, so residents shouldn't have to tolerate dirt
I
and
agree.
dust in front of your landfill, so I
No, I agree,
appreciate
100%.
doing whatever you can to eliminate that. Okay, I did read somewhere that you are now finally capped with the temporary capping.
Correct.
So that's good, and does that take care of that ongoing notice of violation? Was that the reason we had the notice of violation?
Yeah, correct. That was open before me, but yeah, correct. It got us up to the current date.
So that was the only outstanding issue in the notice of violation from April of 2020, was that you weren't temporary, you were scheduled
Yeah,
temporary
correct. Yeah, they
capping.
weren't keeping up with the
Okay, so
schedule.
now we're good on that.
Mhm.
Okay, I appreciate that. And I'm also concerned about the daylighting showing, and that shouldn't happen either. You should be covering your trash by regulations every day, so that we don't have that, because that creates odors. So Sherry Hill Road is now new, getting odor complaints. So, and then that talks about the sludge. So again, you said you would try to not use that particular.
Correct, yeah, so the Senate Row, there was another one from like the drinking water facility we were taking from, that I thought was causing odor, I got rid of that, and then now we think the culprit is that Senate Row, which means they'll totally stop taking it at this point.
Okay, because I remember a bunch of years ago when you were bringing in all this sludge, we said that it creates an issue, you have to stop using it.
Yeah, well, the Senate Row is more of a compost, but again, we realized it was causing odor, so we have to stop taking it. We're taking 0 loads of it.
Okay, thank you. Whose report is this? I kind of wrote a pencil. Thanks.
Thank you. There's no more questions?
Yeah.
There's more, okay, well,
I just have a couple of questions. I apologize, this is my first meeting here.
you say your name?
Lynn Hill. It's my first meeting here with the landfill committee, so I'm trying to acquire some knowledge about this thing, so I apologize if some of my questions are naive or whatever. When you have the overweight trucks, for example, 64 overweight in October, 65 in November, and 66 trucks in December, how overweight are they? I mean,
Most of the time they're, I mean, I have the list, and I can share it with you too, but because we submit that to the DP, so that'll be public information. Most of the time, we're talking 200, 300 pounds. We do every now and then get one that comes in that's, a full ton over, maybe 82,000 pounds. If they're over 3%, then they're immediately suspended right away. But yeah, most of the time you're talking a couple hundred pounds.
okay, and are these 80,000 pound trucks?
Some are the 73, there'll be the Traxels, some are the 80,000, the semi-tractor.
Okay, and there was mention of an air quality test done in March of '22, and I'm assuming there's also soil samples and water samples of the different wells around, the groundwater. Are those results available somewhere for us to see?
They should all be with the DEP, because when we get all those samples back that we do for like groundwater sampling, stormwater sampling, they're all submitted.
So it's on the DEP website.
Should be. Yeah.
Okay. And I apologize for going back in time a little bit, but as I was trying to learn more about these topics, I was looking at the minutes from July 21st meeting. And it listed the April out-of-state tonnage at 10,296.95, which was 29% of the total tonnage. And that seemed like an outlier to me compared to the other months that were around 50, 60, even this one says 71 here. So was this already discussed in a prior meeting, this sort of discrepant number? Was that the out-of-state tonnage on your tonnage report for April 2022 was extremely low?
Right.
It looked like an error to me. I was wondering if that was something that could be checked
Yeah, I can go ahead and check it.
and corrected?
It may not be incorrect, but I can go and check it and see. I don't remember at this point what had happened or why it was low.
Yeah,
A lot of our out-of-state stuff that we do get comes from intercompany. So it could have been something with transport station, it could have been that they diverted to somewhere else, or part of the reason why my numbers up now is because we have another landfill that's running out of space, and so they're doing stuff to me. So, but I can look into it and give
Okay.
you an answer on what, one, double check and make sure it is, correct.
I'd just like to know what the actual number was for the out-of-state tonnage for April of 22, because I have an accounting background, and
Yeah.
so I scrutinize data like that, and it just looked a little off to me
No, it's fair.
compared to other months, because the total tonnage wasn't out of line. It was just the out-of-state portion, and it just didn't seem logical to me that we would suddenly get a higher proportion of trash from in-state in the same month, or we get a lower proportion from out-of-state, you know what I mean? It just didn't seem,
And also sometimes too, like depending on the job, and obviously the price of that job, we might take that job and keep something else out, which could also divert something out too. But I'll definitely check it, because.
that'd be cool, okay, thank you. Okay, let me just see. When there's radiation monitoring, I don't really understand what that is. Like, is it, a truck comes in and you have a way of knowing if it's got iodine or technetium?
Yeah, so when the trucks come on site, when they drive up on the scale, there's two like white PVC looking bars that are there. So when they drive through that, if there's something detected, an alarm will go off in the scale. And then when that alarm goes off, Dean, who's our scale attendant, will call Cody. We have a couple other people on site that will actually, so we'll have that truck pull over on the side, and they'll get a handheld, and they'll go through and try to find it in that load. And our reader that we have actually will determine the isotope that is in the truck. And then, so once they do that, then we have a list of approved stuff, because we're usually medical type radiation stuff from like cancer treatment, whatever.
Right.
But if it's not on that list, then we will call the DEP. It's always reported, it's always sent in an email, but if it's something that is not common that we could take, then we will call Amy from the DEP and walk through our procedures with them, and they'll either approve it or have us hold it, move it out of the way, away from, most of the time, I don't know, about 9% of the time, it's the medical technetium or the iodine.
Right.
But that is the process when we come on.
Is this disposed in a different manner than the other waste?
No, if it's approved, then it would go right in the same spot. I mean, it's still buried and covered and all that.
Okay.
Because again, it's some of the stuff would come in, either like those semi-tractor trailers bringing about 20, 22 tons inside the tractor. And so it could be one tiny, one experience that I had is I had a guy who was going through chemo and he couldn't swallow, so he was stuck on a lemon head and threw him in it back. So at first it was a little scary because we found all these yellow beans and it was like, but then when we tracked it down, the guy was just stuck on lemon heads, but it was, you're talking about one little tiny grocery bag of stuck on lemon heads and 22 tons of trash.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so if it's approved, then yeah, we'll just go. But it's not the full tractor trailer, like.
Right. Okay.
It's approved by DEP.
Yeah, but again, the
Top of town, sure.
Yeah.
DEP.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Thank you. All right.
My name is Mark Osmek, Reddington Road. What's your name again?
Astor, AST1.
Nice bass playing.
What's that?
Nice bass playing.
Thank you.
Other than that, I was on the phone with, I'm the one that called January 4th and filed a complaint when I was going out on Applewater Road from the smell. Since then, Northampton County inspector, who went to inspect the dump with one of you, had called me back and spent pretty much about an hour on the phone with me and my wife. Has the tear, the 15 or 16 foot tear in the tarp been repaired?
For the, like, AC tarp or?
I'm not sure, that's all I got, was there was a tear in the tarp. And that's where the smell was coming from.
Yeah, I'll probably need more information. I'm not sure. I'm not.
Okay. The other thing he said was that he's had X amount said. As far as where the tarp is and what you call it, I have no idea.
Okay.
I'll try and look at his report when I go home, he sent me. The other thing is, I ended up calling this morning when I was going out to the doctor because it smelled in the same place. At Ringhofer Road around the bend, up down from the new gas thing you're building up there. And there was nobody there, so the girl called me back and I talked to her. And one of the things I had told her was 2 days ago, yesterday, the day before when I was going out, and I went down Applewater Road, and I'll have to look to see if the truck camera picked it up. It was like driving through a cloud of dust. I would assume you have a remedy for that. I think the other guy was saying that you don't have the sprayers on.
Well,
Sprayers
so
keep dust
we
down.
have the 2 water trucks on site for remedying the dust. We did have one down for service. So I know Tuesday was pretty dusty, that's when it was down for service. The other one's being repaired. We have had a third-party sweeper for the last month and a half that's there every day. And then we have our other orange sweeper. And I know one of the days that the sweeper was there, it was pretty dusty from the sweeper, which sometimes seemed counter.
I was behind him going up and down Applewater Road, so you just do try. I'll give you that. The other thing is, I've been in my house for 20 years, out past the Narrows, past the hill climb, out the other end of the road. And one day this week, I'm getting garbage smell out there. I mean, I'm pretty far away, so it's not strong, but after 20 years of driving past the dump, I know what it smells like. So if that's happening, done the way you can't change Mother Nature in the wind. Not doing that. And I don't really know what else. It's the first time I came to a landfill meeting. I battled a landfill before. I mean, as far as one of the expansion stuff. But next question is the City of Bethlehem Police Department. I understand they've been put out of the firing range now.
The Bethlehem Police Department?
Bethlehem Police Department has been put out of the firing range.
No. They moved to a different location and basically the same location.
So they're still in the same property, just using a different location?
But I believe they moved to the Still City.
Well, that's where they always were.
Or
I mean, when you went in the driveway, they used to go to the right and have their shooting range over there, and the public went to the left. So you're saying they just went from the right to the left?
Yeah, the lock on the gate is their lock.
Okay. All right. I guess that's all.
All right, thank you. All right, that's it. That's it? Is that it? All right, we're going to adjourn the meeting, and do we have the date of the next meeting?
April 20th.
What's that?
April 20th, 1 o'clock.
April 20th at 1 o'clock. We alternate between 1 o'clock and 5 o'clock, the meeting. Thank you all for coming.
Thanks for having us. Bye, Chloe.